Welcome back. Today I want to talk about something that's so important, especially right now. So I'd like you to take a nice deep breath with me. A real one. The kind that reminds your nervous system, I'm still here. Even now. Right now. In this world, which really feels heavy, loud, and uncertain. I was reminded about this fundamental truth about life recently. Light is still more powerful than darkness. In fact, listen to this. Even the darkest of the darkest night cannot snuff out the light of one small candle. One candle. One breath. One human being who refuses to let their inner light go out. And that truth has carried humanity through every dark chapter we've ever known. Martin Luther King said it best, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. So the truth is, this episode is about remembering that truth. And choosing to live from it. If you're afraid of what's going on in the world right now, I want you to think back to every tough thing you've been through, every hard moment. And the one thing in common with every hard moment that you've ever been through in your entire life is you made it through. And this right now will be no different. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not going to say it's going to be comfortable. I'm just saying in the end, you will make it through too. This too will pass. There's a truth about life. The Buddhists talk about it. The truth of life is change. This too will pass. This too will pass. And the truth of that says that if you're going through a really tough time, hang on, because this too will pass. But the other truth of this is if you're going through a really good time, really be in the moment. Because the truth is, this too will pass. But if you never spend present time in that moment, then you'll miss out on the greatest days of your life. So the truth about the hard times, the most important thing you can do is protect the light. But hear me clearly. In times like this, it's not simple enough to have light. It's not enough to simply have light. We must protect it. We must keep it safe from cynicism, from exhaustion, from bitterness, from the constant drip of fear. Because the world will not always celebrate your light. Not at all. And sometimes it's going to test it. Sometimes it will mock it. And sometimes it will try to convince you to dim it. I remember when I went back to school and I was so joyful because I was moving in this amazing direction. And I know what it's like to live in darkness. And somehow this tiny speck of light stayed inside that made it possible that I could move forward in my life towards something that would make a massive difference as far as I was concerned. And I remember The greatest compliment I got when I was in school was a failed attempt at an insult. When one of my classmates turned to me and said, "Kimon, nobody's that happy all the time." And I didn't get angry at her. I just thought, oh, that's so sad that you don't believe it's possible to have this much light and joy. And it didn't dim my light. It made me feel sad for her. Like I said, there's an example of the world not celebrating my light. And people will mock it, and they will test it, and they will try to convince you to shut it down and dim it. But your light is not optional. Your compassion, your kindness, your hope, your willingness to care. These are not weakness. These are strength under control. And here's the miracle and the truth of life. And if you really think of how true this is, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. Think about that. Read that again. You lose nothing by sharing hope. You lose nothing by lifting someone else. You lose nothing by choosing love over fear. In fact, you multiply it. And I'm reminded of this amazing quote. Joy shared is joy doubled. Sorrow shared is sorrow halved. And that is so true. I'm also reminded, I'm a big quote guy, of this because of the fear that's going on in the world. The truth is, fear is a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep. And often when you're sitting on the edge of fear, it feels completely insurmountable. But as soon as you step into fear, you see how shallow it truly is. So what do we do in these times? Your brain is the one that typically comes up with all the fear. So this is the time to get in touch with your heart and let your heart lead. Because we've forgotten something ancient. We were never meant to be led by fear first. We were meant to let our heart lead the way and trust that our body, our action, our courage would follow. Think about it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the taking action within the face of fear. And when your heart leads, definitely act in alignment. And acting in alignment will create resilience. You don't burn out when you're aligned. You burn out when you betray yourself. Your heart knows when to rest. Your heart knows when to rise. Your heart knows when to stand in the fire and say, I will not matter. I will not abandon what matters. Your heart knows. The truth is, the longest journey you'll ever take is the 18 inches from your head to your heart. So let's talk about the truth of life, impermanence, because life moves in cycles and it doesn't move in straight lines. It really doesn't. It moves in cycles, just like seasons, just like tides, just like breath. Tide comes in, tide goes out. Breath comes in, breath goes out. Spring, summer, fall, winter. And every time the pendulum swings away from the light, it's gathering momentum. So these tough times, we're not going to get stuck in the darkness because it's going to develop so much momentum at the end of that swing that it's going to swing back with equal strength back towards the light, equal force, equal power, equal brilliance. I can't even speak. And that's not philosophy. That's reality. This too will pass. The truth is you will never be trapped in the darkness forever. Because the one truth in life, the only guarantee we have is change. This too will pass. Like I said, if things are going wrong, hang on. Don't quit. Don't harden. Don't despair. Protect your little light. Because this will pass. Like I was saying before, when life is good, be present in those amazing moments. Have you ever heard of anchoring? So anchoring is a technique that you can use. Seeing as like the brain doesn't know the difference between a real and imagined emotion, or the something happening in the present moment, or something that you're remembering from the past. So when you find yourself in an amazing moment, you want to anchor it. Let me explain. When I was 23 years old, I quit a job that I could see was a complete dead end. And they actually gave me money to quit my job. It was a union contract buyout. And I paid off all my debts, and I took everything I owned, put it in storage, and I bought a one-way ticket to Europe. And I'd never felt so free in my life. So I realized that I may never feel this free again, that I needed to really, really remember this. So I went down to the ocean, and I listened. I shut my eyes and I listened to the waves and the seagulls. And I can see it right now. I can hear it right now. Walking in the sand and rocks, hearing the waves come in, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, the smell of seaweed in the air. And I really anchored that moment. I burned it so deeply into my memory that I can go back there now. And when things are going real tough, I can go back to the moment. And this is why when things are really great, you need to really be present and maybe do what I do. Anchor it. Anchor that moment. Be incredibly present. Really feel everything you're feeling. Slow down enough to feel it. Taste the moment. Breathe it in. Let it register. Because the truth is, this too will pass. And if you never allow yourself to really be fully present and to really enjoy the good times, you'll miss the very best moments of your life. Think about it. Sometimes we take for granted that we're sitting with a group of friends, maybe having a meal, maybe having a drink, maybe just having a chat. What if you stopped in that moment and looked around and saw these people? Because you have a deep connection with these people. You have a deep love for these people. That's why you're with them. And what if you allowed yourself to feel the love, looked at each person, how much you care, how much you're grateful for them in your life? You know, I can almost tear up thinking about that. Like, these moments will pass. But if you don't become fully present in the moment of the good, then you'll miss the best moments of your life. Joy is not irresponsible. Gratitude is not naive. They are fuel. So as we talk about light and everything, maybe we need to talk about why darkness even exists. So why does it exist at all? Like, why do we suffer? Why do things fall apart? I believe this deeply because I have experienced this so much in my life. So much darkness, so much pain, so much tough, so many tough moments. And I believe it deeply that darkness teaches what the light alone cannot. Compassion is an empathy. It's forged in pain. It's forged in the understanding. Empathy's born in the struggle. You don't learn how to truly see others when everything is easy. And it's often times like these that inspire people to do better, to be better, to step into helping and healing professions. The darkest chapters create the greatest healers. I heard this story of this young child that was with the grandparents and something massive happened, a massive accident. There were injured people everywhere. And the child was so afraid. And the grandfather, like, goes, look, everybody's hurt. Everybody's hurt. Look at everybody. And the grandfather said, look for the helpers. And the child looked around and she saw people coming from all directions and heard sirens and heard people sitting down, holding people's hands, holding other people whose loved ones were injured. And she saw the truth was this horrible thing happened, but it's caused so many people to stand up and help. And this is what's happening right now. The darkness looks incredibly overwhelming, but there are people who are taking this darkness and going, I will be the light. This will fuel me. This will teach me. I will learn to be kind. Kindness in action. I will live my life. People go into healing professions and into law enforcement, maybe into politics to right the wrongs of the past, to be a champion for the future, not in spite of what they've been through, but because of what they've been through, because of what they saw. They didn't give up. It turned into fuel. They decided that they would be someone who changes the world. And yet, if they'd lived their whole life in light, they would never, ever be inspired by the darkness. Because that's the only place we're going to learn empathy, compassion, strength, resilience, the ability to overcome. All of that is only learned in darkness. So another thing you really want to be clear on in times of darkness is what you focus on expands. And the truth, this is the part that determines everything. What you focus on expands. If you focus on what's going wrong, the bad, the fear, the terror, how everything is falling apart, that is all you will ever see. It's like personal confirmation bias. If you believe there's only pain and sadness, you will only see pain and sadness. But if you truly look for all the people standing up, all the helpers, all the healers, look for the bringers of the light. This is what will fill your vision. And yes, they are trying to control the media. And they are. So you can't stay in the mainstream. You have to go and look outside the mainstream. But the helpers are everywhere. And they've always been there. But when you're focusing on all the fear and all the negativity, then all you're seeing is that. So focus on the light. Focus on what you want. Don't get caught in the trap of fighting the darkness. And let me be really clear on that. Like Martin Luther King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And this is a truth. If you think of Mother Teresa was asked by a group, would you come and march in our march against the war? And Mother Teresa said, oh, no, dear, I would never do that. And they were shocked. They're like, wait a minute, aren't you against war? Like, why wouldn't you march in a march against the war? She said, the truth is I'll never march in the march against the war. But I tell you what, if you hold a march for peace, I will lead it. If you want to fight the darkness, don't fight the darkness head on. Don't even fight. Encourage the light. Don't fight against the war. Fight for peace. Because when you fight against what you don't want, you actually give it energy and you rise it up and you make it stronger. Because what you focus on expands. Expands in your own mind, but the more energy you put towards something, it expands. So where do you want to spend your energy? So it's time to close. And I want to close with the beauty of the light. Light has always been, and it always will be, forever more powerful than darkness. And here's the final truth. It's actually the darkness that makes the light more beautiful. So protect your light. Share your light. Let your heart lead. Because the world does not need you to be hardened or angry. It does not need you to fight against the things you don't want. It needs you lit. It needs you inspired. It needs you led by your heart. This is your reminder. This is your calling. Be the candle. Thank you for sharing this time with me again. Keep protecting and sharing your light. Gently lighting all the candles around you. And keep on being and building your own inner advocate.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimmin Peterson, formerly Conversations with Kimmin. If you found value in today's episode, please follow, like, and share the podcast with someone who you think may benefit from it. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and connect on Instagram at your_inner_advocate. Until next time, keep listening to and developing your inner advocate.